AppScript works well. It's a great way to start. So yeah, I would suggest to start with AppScript if you want to do an add-on or a chat app.
All right, so hey, welcome to Google Workspace Developer Spotlight. In today's Spotlight, we have Google partner Comeen. Comeen is a workspace partner from France, and they have folks in North America as well too. And they build solutions on top of Google Workspace to help users get more out of their workplace in this modern world. So with that, let me introduce Ben and Simon to the show. And guys, would you like to quickly introduce yourselves and your background?
I'll start. I'm Ben, I'm 29. Hey, Charles, by the way. I'm living in Bordeaux, France, so very well known for the wine, obviously. So in Comeen, I'm co-founder and CEO. I'm taking care of the strategy and the partners. I'll let Simon introduce himself.
So my name is Simon. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Comeen with Benjamin. I live in Paris, but I've lived in Bordeaux for a long time, so I love wine too. I've been a developer for like 15 years, and a freelance and entrepreneur for 7 years, I think. And at Comeen, I'm in charge of everything related to the product and the technical team.
I kind of feel like there's a theme here that we should have some wine. I know it's end of day for you guys, and you're
Yeah,
more,
exactly.
more than welcome to it. And I thank you for coming on late at night. But it's a little early in the morning for me, so I'm going to hold off. But I will take a rain check. So real quick, one thing I've always been curious about, and Simon or Ben, grab this question if you would. Where does the company name come from? Comeen. What does it mean? What's the background?
That's a secret, but I need to tell you now. So one of our first feature was a visitor management system, and the idea, and it's still a feature by the way, the idea is to let everyone pre-register a visitor in our platform, and once it's the D-Day, you need to come to the office. So, and for us, the first impression is very important if you're like new customers or a new employee joining the company. So for us, the experience that you will have at the lobby hall when you first arrive to a company was key. And in our product, you have like this feature where when you enter into the building, you have to check in, and the host will receive a notification to come and say hi. And the idea was to help you come in to the company or to the building. So it was a play on word, and it still works with all the features that we have today.
And so for folks who may have never heard of Comeen before, could you just give us the elevator pitch, the quick spin on what Comeen does, and kind of what's your mission as an org?
Basically, we call ourselves a workplace experience platform. So in our product, you have many features. One of the most famous one is digital signage. So our customers will deploy digital signage screens in their offices, in the break rooms, in the lobby hall, and they will use our platform to broadcast the latest news for the employees, such as new hires, open positions, the weather, pretty much everything that will help you being engaged and doing your job. And 2 years ago, we started to work on new features aligned with the new hybrid work and the new experience that you want to create into the office. So we have features such as desk booking, meeting room booking, and obviously welcoming visitors. So we have this large platform that does many things for your workplace, and our vision and our mission is to help any companies in the world implementing hybrid work. So we have a team based in France and in the US now, and yeah, we're expanding a lot. We just passed the 200 customers worldwide. So
oh, congratulations!
Yeah,
so jumping in on top of that, and I love your vision, kind of your tagline: improve your workplace. And a lot has changed in the workplace, not just because of the pandemic, but obviously that was a big deal. But it feels like just work in general has been going through a reboot as we return to office. There's hybrid work. There's there's full time 5 days. There's 3 days. There's 4 days. There's a mix. People working from everywhere. How does Comeen fit into that? And how do you take advantage of not just the situation, but how do you make customers and their team stay better connected while they're trying to figure out where should they be working?
Yeah, it's very complicated because it could depend on the size of the company, where you're located. The answer could be different in Europe and in the US. For instance, we have a customer in Brazil, and their rhythm for hybrid work is 1 week every 2 months, which is very different from what we have seen in the US or in Europe. So um, I think the more interesting part is the fact that we have customers worldwide and we are talking to them every day. So we get insight on how they use our product and how we can make it better, to suit their needs. But um, I think at the end of the day, the only things that matters is when people are going to the office, they see their teammates, and I think that this is everyone what you're looking for. I mean, when I come to the office or when I decide to go, if I am the only one, it doesn't make any sense. So we have based the vision and the product on that. And when you're opening our product and you want to pick the best day for you coming to the office, we will highlight for you, let's say next Friday, because Simon is here and I'm working a lot with him. So I think it's again the most important thing that we want to bring to our customers.
Are there any specific new workplace trends here in 2023 that are shaping your offering or taking you in a direction that maybe you didn't see coming, even just a few months ago?
Yeah, I think I would say desk booking it's something pretty new that we have seen for many years, mainly in startups and SMB business, but more and more, even large enterprise start to implement desk booking for many reasons. The first reason is obviously because you can reduce costs. So you have come from 10 buildings to maybe 3 buildings, and inside these 3 buildings you will implement desk booking, so you don't have a dedicated desk anymore, and when you come to the office you need to book it, a bit like when you book a room in a hotel. And yeah, I think it's a great way of implementing the new workplace trend in 2023, because again, you reduce cost, but you also on an environmental point of view, you will consume less and less energy. So we have customers, they had 10 buildings and almost every building were empty. There were like only 2 buildings used, and now there are only 3 buildings and are very well used because of a product like us. So and it also came with an opportunity to maybe open buildings in other part of the globe. Let's say you had 10 buildings in the same city, and now you can have one location in France, one location in New York, one location in Canada. So it's also less large building, but more close from employees. This is what matters today. And even Google Cloud is starting to use desk working in the US.
Tell us, why did you choose to build a Google Workspace, and why is integrating with it so important for your business versus just creating a standalone solution that's independent of a productivity suite?
Sure. That's a great question, because it's really at the core of our platform, our business decision. So our customer, they are mainly medium and large size enterprise. So they have lots of employees, and deploying a new solution is really key for them. It's difficult to ask every employee to download a third-party application on their personal phone or to connect on another website. So we decided to create a workspace add-on and a workspace chat, so we could keep user in the platform they already know, they already use. And because when you integrate with Google Workspace, when you have like an add-on or a chat, you can use the marketplace to get one-click deployment on all the employees. So for our customer, like deploying is really easy. They go on the marketplace, they deploy all their employee or just a group, and all the employee get the app like almost instantly. So yeah, that's a really great benefit of building on Workspace.
No, that makes sense. And not to be remiss, you also integrate with other platforms like Microsoft 365, which, of course, I would encourage any partner to optimize their reach into the marketplace. And I know you can tell us all the reasons why you prefer working on Google Workspace, but you'd be missing out on a market opportunity, obviously, if you didn't build for both of these platforms. So actually, Simon, let me ask this question of you specifically, since I know you handle the technical operations. For other partners out there that maybe are Workspace partners or they're Microsoft 365 partners, do you have any advice on how do you actually target multiple platforms while minimizing your development effort for your team and for your operations?
We've built Comeen at the start on Google Workspace of course. We chose that because of the developer experience, and we knew this ecosystem because we've been using Workspace for a long time. But of course, we are also available on Office 365. And from the start, we built an architecture with an abstraction layer that made it easier for us to create a new. I'm talking about user synchronization, for example. So you don't need to create everything manually in Comeen. You can synchronize from Google Workspace or 365. And we have some kind of abstraction layer with all the business logic on our side. And we just create a small connector for Workspace or 365 to integrate. So it's easier to maintain. It's even easier to integrate other platforms that could exist in the future. One key is really to try to abstract everything as much as possible, so it's easier to maintain. And then usually you will need to have two applications. On the front side, it will be a different system for all the platform. For example, at Google, we are using the card system for the add-on, which is an opinionated system for building front-end application. And on Microsoft, you have a bit more latitude. It's an iframe, but you still need to use their UI system called Fluent Design. So you can not even reuse your existing web app. So on the front side, you will have to do two different things. You cannot really reuse anything. But on the back end, we tried also to mutualize as much as possible. So we use the same backend for both. And then we moved all the business logic and the actions in an API. So it can be called from AppScript or from the Microsoft iframe. So we have just some front-end apps, and then all the business logic is really mutualized in the same app, the same backend.
And so for now, though, let's stick to Google Workspace. What I love about Comeen is the way you seek to help users work better where they work. So whether that's in the workplace or in the tools that they use. And so you've got, integrations with things like Gmail, calendar, chat, really helping people stay comfortable with those tools they know. And you've got features like desk booking, meeting room management, working with visitors, and more. How important is it to make sure that you get to keep users in the tools that they know and love while offering them features on top of that without pulling them away into different directions so they kind of get lost?
For us, it made sense because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, so we can take part of existing UI, existing interaction that they know. And then it made sense also to live in their calendar because it's best place to plan your day, because you have your calendar, if you have a lot of meetings, maybe people want to be in the office if they have lots of meetings, maybe they want to work remotely. So yeah, it made sense to also be integrated in that calendar of each user.
And it's also key for adoption, because since you keep people into the tools they already know, they don't need to be trained, they don't need to learn a new tool. And we've seen from some competitors that deploying a tool on thousands of people, it becomes a project because you need to be sure that everyone knows how to use your product. And we've Comeen, since everyone using Workspace knows how to use Google Calendar, for instance, or even Gmail or a Google Chat app. Very easy, like to click from the admin console and say, I want to deploy in thousands of users, and knowing that the next second we will have thousands of users using our product.
And I think a good statistic for that is that in the first week, we usually have like more than 17% of the users that are already using the product. Like they're creating desk booking, welcoming visitors in the first week, more than 70%. So yeah, it's really a great adoption feature for us.
And so one of the things I noticed when I started following Comeen, I noticed that you really focused on using things like Workspace add-ons, like chat apps, and was super excited to see how you use them. And I'd love to explore why. Why did you go that route specifically versus saying building your own interfaces over top of it, or strictly targeting our APIs? What's the story behind that?
The main reason we started that way is that we've been a Workspace customer for a long time. Like in Comeen, in our previous company, we're already using Comeen. I actually have never been using Microsoft 365 in my small career. So I think that's why we've built this, because we can use it internally. And then I think what pushed us that also there is a great developer experience with Google platform. So the documentation is great. You have lots of example, playground, and everything. So it's also helped us build that kind of integration from the start.
And also Workspace is very strong in France. So also depending on where you live, but for us, even large enterprise, a lot of them are using Workspace. So it made sense at this time, since we wanted to target a lot of companies. It made sense to focus on Workspace. And obviously, when you use Workspace, you use Google Chat to notify your users. And the key with the Google Chat apps was one of the first features. What was when you welcome your visitor, you receive a notification into Google Chats, and that was way more convenient than receiving an email that says someone just arrived, because you need this information delivered right now. An email, you can read it in 1 hour, but if you see in 1 hour that your visitor just arrived, you will have a problem. And I think this Google Chat apps keeps getting stronger and stronger since we implement new features. And now you have the check-in notification when you arrive at the office that say, hey, don't forget to check in your desk. We also send a notification when you book a meeting room saying, hey, don't forget to check in your meeting room, or release the meeting room directly from the chat notification if you don't want to use it. So yeah, I think we bring a ton of value now for this app.
No, I love that. I think it's right. I think a lot of folks are starting to see adoption of chat. I think it's a great place to find people, again, where they reach and where they're having conversations. Hey, let's circle back to add-ons a little bit, though, because add-ons aren't something that everybody maybe knows about, or they do, and they don't even know them by name. And I'd love to get you kind of your insights on what did you do with your add-on that makes it more effective for users, and why did you find an add-on essential for your delivery of those features?
For those who don't know, the add-on are the small icons on the right of the calendar. When you click on it, it opens a small window on the right. And for us, it was a great way to integrate because it's right there in your calendar. So you can check at your calendar, book something on the right, and you're good to go. And we will even soon synchronize the working location in your calendar too. So when you book something in Comeen, it will be also living in your calendar. So yeah, that was a great way to be. So we try to keep the add-on as slim as possible. So we don't want to have all the feature in it. We want to have the main one. So that's where you can book a desk, see if your teammates are at the office or not on a specific day, and you can welcome visitor for an event. So we're trying to keep it like that. So it's slim, easy to use, and you don't have to learn anything. We have just button on the right. You can use it. You're good to go. You have booked your desk.
The thing I like the most from the add-on is the fact that we detect the language of your Google account, and we adapt the language of our add-on. So when we're working with companies that have multiple locations across the world, you can deploy our product to people speaking in French, English, Spanish, and automatically we'll adapt the experience in the right language. So that's also very important for adoption.
You've really pioneered some cool product ideas. And I'd love to know if you have any insights or best practices or anything you can share that others may find interesting when you're approaching building an add-on for the first time, or a chat app, either or.
I'd say when you start building an add-on or a chat app, AppScript is a great way to start and to prototype. We've been at the beginning running our add-on and our chat app with AppScript for I think the first 2 years of the product, and we switched to our backend. But with AppScript, you can prototype. You can get your add-on running in like a day. At the beginning, that's what we did, and it's really easy to iterate, and it's fast to iterate because you can deploy like a new version of your app or your add-on in just one click. Whereas if you want to use your backend, you have to deploy your app, go through testing and everything. So it's a great way to iterate and to get a new version in the end of the user like quickly. And then we switch to our own backend. In an add-on or a chat app, you can have AppScript, or you can use your own backend with like an API. You send JSON and it shows in the add-on and the chat app. We did that because it was a bit faster to use, and we could also mutualize more and more business logic between our different systems, APIs, and backends. So yeah, we did AppScript, but we were glad to be using it for a few years. We used it for with thousands of users before switching to our own backend. Yeah, for the ease of use.
Would you recommend anybody starting out to skip the AppScript level and go straight to bringing their own runtime, their own backend, or do you think that there's a lot of advantages in maybe the iterative process of kind of learning, exploring, seeing what may or may not work from a functionality standpoint? What do you think on that?
Yeah, I would recommend to start with AppScript because using your own backend, you have a lot of overhead. Like you need to set up a lot of things. You have to manipulate JSON directly. Whereas you have an add-on service, card service in AppScript, where you can do a bit. It's a bit more abstract, so you can like experiment, test things like easily. And then when you understand really how everything works, then it's easier to move to a backend. But the switch is not easy. So you will need time because you need to rewrite a lot of things. But AppScript works well. It's a great way to start. So yeah, I would suggest to start with AppScript if you want to do an add-on or a chat app.
Looking back, were there any lessons learned or surprises like, wow, this is easier? Whoa, I wish we didn't do it this way. I wish we would have tried something else first.
I think on the lesson learned, you need to implement. So when you create a chat app that sends notification, you need to implement some kind of failsafe because we had a bug for a few 10 minutes where we were sending notification in a loop to users because of a bug. So we had a job sending notification, but it crashed and started again, but it still sends a notification. So we spammed a few users. So we've set up a lot of failsafe now. So we cannot do that anymore, but that's a good thing to keep in mind when you are able to send something to users to avoid to spam them and to have everything in place to never do that. And I think something that was easier to implement that we think is dialogues in add-ons because we need to have some advanced interaction sometimes. So for example, if we want to do map booking, so you can book your desk from a floor plan, but you cannot do that in an add-on. Or sometimes we also ask advanced scopes to users. And so we need to also to have a web page to do that. And so it's really easy in an add-on to open a dialogue, ask something, do your process, and during that time, the add-on is going to wait for the dialogue, and you can reload the data when it's closed. And it was really easy to set up all this interaction.
So there's an awful lot to kind of get your head around at first. What's your essential advice for anybody who's never done this before and they're just getting started? Where would you point them? What would you give your kind of coaching, if you will?
Yeah, I think the best way to start is the quick start of the documentation. Actually, you have lots of example on how to set up. You have AppScript code that you can use right away, and then people showed you the card builder, which is a website where you can build your card for your add-on and your chat apps, and it's visual. So you take the text widget and it generates the JSON and all the AppScript code in the end. It's a great way to try different UI and see it live in your app and discover new parameters for a widget, for example.
One of the things we love to do is love to keep it real, keep us honest. If you had one or two things, and I'm going to hold you to one or two things that you may like to change to make building these solutions easier, what would it be?
We have a lot of things that we could change. We can build you a roadmap if you want, but no, kidding. Yeah, no, just kidding. I'd say right now it's a bit difficult to build add-ons with multiple pages. If you want to go to have a deep navigation, it's difficult to handle because you have lots of calls to do, and if you want to go back, it's a bit difficult to update all the view. So that's why we try to keep the add-on slim in terms of pages because it, can grow fast and it's difficult to maintain. So that's one thing. So I think a routing system would be great, with pages and everything. I think the last one is more a request, but an iframe widget would be really nice for advanced interaction. Because the card system is great because you have an UI which is the same for everyone. But then sometimes you need to have advanced interaction. For example, for us, it's desk booking on the map, and you cannot really do that in an add-on. So think that's it.
No, that's a good one. And there are some things that people are playing with. I won't say much more than that, but we're definitely looking at some things. For anybody watching this that wasn't able to attend one of our Google Workspace Developer Summits, we were in London, we were in Paris, we were in Toronto, we were in Chicago, and you guys actually came to all of them. It was awesome. First of all, thank you so much for doing that. We love the fact that you were there. You're showing off real use cases of real solutions in action, and people got to see your products. And Simon, you gave a great overview on how you actually build these things. Let me ask you, were there any takeaways for you guys actually meeting with customers, with developers, with other partners? What are some of the lessons you learned, or what are some of the great benefits of getting together with a bunch of people and talking about workspace development?
I think one of the first thing for this summit is a great way to discover the new feature and API coming out, because you have lots of like documentation online, you have the roadmap of Workspace, but it's difficult to have an overview of everything. So that's one great place to have that. You usually have like Google project managers at this event, so we can discuss and send them feature requests live. They love that. That's a great way to interact with them and to have an overview of what's coming.
I think it's also very important to us for visibility, and during those meetings you can cross the path of existing customers or also potential customers, but also you will promote these events. We can do a LinkedIn post together to mention that we have demonstrated and showcased our product to this kind of events. And again, we target and we work with large enterprise, and they feel like confident when we talk together as Google plus Comeen. It's more like, okay, those guys are pretty close from the Google team, so I can trust them and their product are. I'm sure that their product is very good integrated with Workspace. So for us, it has been a huge help participating to this kind of events.
It's nice to exchange with developers, AppScript or not, that have faced almost the same issues, building an add-on, building a chat app. So it's good to interact and exchange best practices and all that stuff.
Obviously, the most important thing is this is an ecosystem. It's not just a vendor creating something that will, live in infamy on its own. Having partners like yourself that have a value add solution, you bring subject matter expertise, you bring a focus, you bring a delivery that is unique. And I think that's super awesome too. So we're planning some more. So I hope you guys will join us, and I hope folks listening in will also be able to make them as well too. So I think it's a good time to be a workspace developer. Let me ask another question. So obviously something getting an awful lot of buzz in the marketplace is things like Gen AI and the ability to do more with artificial intelligence with tools and the way folks are expecting or hoping to work. How do you see this shaping what your customers are looking for, or what you're thinking, or how you're planning your products? What is the future of improving your workplace, but also making it more intelligent at the same time?
I think customers that we want like more personalized and optimized services now with all the hype around AI. And depending on how mainstream ChatGPT really becomes, they will also want new kind of UI to integrate with our services using natural languages. Like if they use that in their personal life, they also want to use that in the enterprise environment.
We had a couple of thoughts about how we can integrate those kind of new tools to our product to make it like smarter for our customers. Without telling too many secrets, one of the features that we are currently working on is for our digital signage solution. So most of the time, our customers, they want to broadcast the latest news coming from the intranet. And as you may know, an intranet post can be like, 40, 30, 50 lines of text, and you can't broadcast 50 lines of text on the screen. It wouldn't make any sense. So usually what they do, they will broadcast the first line of the post of the intranet, and then you can scan the QR code to read all the news. But most of the time, the first line is not the line that will summarize the article. So one thing that we're building is we want to be able to summarize all the article and to extract one sentence that will make you more interesting about reading the rest of the article. So this is the kind of feature that will arrive in our platform in the coming month. And obviously, since our product is also based on the chat app, being able to talk to this app with natural languages to ask action that you can do with our product will be something that we we will be working on the coming month. And I think the last piece of what we're building with the platform is also to optimize how our customer are using the space. When you're booking a desk, let's say you have a building with 3 floors and 100 people coming, and you have 20 people on the first floor, 20 people on the second floor, and the rest on the third floor. Doesn't make any sense. Maybe it made more sense to have everyone on the first floor because you have enough space. So try to rearrange the space and make it more smarter will be one of
and
also one of
we
the
have
ideas.
also started leveraging GCP Vertex AI services to try and predict office attendance. There's a lot of benefits from that, that can better predict lunch attendance and so reduce waste of food when they cook that. They can also plan company events when there is lots of people planned coming, to have a lot of integration with all the employees, interactions, and everything.
I can't wait for the app to say, "Oh, look, here's all the fun people you work with. They're going to be in the office today, and the boring ones aren't. So go in this day."
Exactly. Actually, I use Comeen Workplace to know when Benjamin is not at the office, so I can go on that day.
I get that. That's a great feature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so no, all kidding aside, you guys obviously are having a good time. You're growing, you're expanding. I know you've expanded into North America. I know, obviously, it's a good time to actually be looking for talent, but sometimes hard. In your growth model, are you looking to hire folks in the near term, short term, even long term? And what are some of the skill sets you may be looking for if somebody's interested in looking up Comeen?
In the short term, we are hiring developers, like Ruby on Rails developers, and actually short-term lead PHP developer. It's even better if he has experience working and interacting with Workspace APIs, of course. And in the medium term, we are going to hire product designer and project managers too. And even better if there is experience with Workspace, Add-on, and Chat, which are very specific use cases, and it's really different to build an add-on than other apps. So it's great if people are already experienced in that.
And I know you're pretty global. Are you location preferred or dependent, or is it all comers?
Anywhere in the world, the people just need to talk English. We are a little team, but we are already on 4 different time zones, so it's pretty crazy when you think about it. So yeah, there is no criteria regarding location.
So first of all, I would encourage anybody who's tuned in and watched today. First of all, thank you, but also your products are really interesting to look at and really interesting to explore, and obviously are great for some of your customers to actually, really take advantage of the way the workplace works. Where can folks find more? Where do they connect with you? How do they actually even maybe get a demo? What's the best way to get in touch with Comeen?
Yeah, I think the best way is our website, like many companies, comeen.com. You can find all the information about the product. You can book a demo. You can follow us on LinkedIn. We are pretty active on our company page or on my profile. So don't hesitate to
Benjamin is really active on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I love that.
Now that's awesome. I mean, I think one of the best things is people that actually connect with their customers and listen to them and take feedback. I think that's super important. Simon, here's one for you. I know a lot of folks are always trying to, from a product standpoint, understand what the platform they're working on, where it's evolving to, what new features are. We have a developer preview program. I know you guys are a member of that. First of all, thanks for signing up. But what would you tell us about the experience of that? What have you learned, and how has it helped you actually with your business?
I think we joined the program like a year or a year and a half ago. And we've been part of 3 experiments, I think, so far. And the more important one for us was the working location API, which is coming in the near future. And we were actually part of the beta, and we tried it, we implemented it, and we had meetings with the PM on that feature, and we were able to provide feedback and say, okay, you really need to have that kind of specific feature. And they listened to us, integrated some of it. So yeah, that was really interesting for us.
No, and I super appreciate you being early adopters, because sometimes early adopters get to find the things that we don't find, sometimes on purpose, sometimes totally accidentally. So thanks for sticking with us and really being cutting edge partners. I know that sometimes can be a little hard to be the first ones to take a path that no one else has traveled. So we thank you for that. Anything else you'd like to share with anybody about building on Workspace, about the platform, or just next steps?
It's great. I mean, if you're building definitely a B2B SaaS product, you have to consider building it on Workspace. it's like super important to be compatible and to be integrated with it. I've seen so many product that say we're integrated with Google Workspace, and finally you just have the Google sign in, but that's it. That's their integration. And there is so many ways to integrate. I mean, today we are only integrated with chat and calendars, but you guys are releasing a lot of APIs on Docs, on Meet and Meet hardware. So yeah, so many also product to think about and to create in the coming month and years to start your own business. So pretty excited. And it's also super exciting for us because with Simon, we always thinking about new features. And since we have also all those customers, we would like to spend time with them to understand how they use our product, how we can make it better and further integrated with Workspace. So yeah, super excited, and it's been a crazy year, and the growth is it's super strong. So very happy to be with you guys.
So you talk about futures, and one of the things we know that there's a lot of work being done on is Google Meet. There's a new API that will be talked about at Google I/O. There's the Google Meet SDK that will be available in the nearer future. What do you guys think about kind of returning to office, but also making sure you serve some of those hybrid folks that are maybe staying behind with Meet? Are any integrations there something that you're starting to look like or consider? What are some of the use cases you could see for using Meet?
The main integration we are going to work with it. So we have a Comeen Rooms, which is a meeting room optimization feature. And so in the office right now, you have lots of people that book rooms, but then they work remotely and they forget to release the room. So we have some feature around that, and we want to use this new Meet SDK and Meet API to actually know if people are using the room or not. So if they use their Meet hardware to start the room or not, and then if they do not do that, they can release the room, and we can send them a chat notification saying, "Okay, you've booked the room. You're not there. Do you still need it?" And then they can release the room, and it's available for someone else. Because if you go to the office and all the rooms are empty, but you cannot book one, it's not a great experience. So you don't want to go back. So you don't get a lot of encouragement to go there.
Yeah, and I think one idea that we have also around what you're talking about, Simon, is you are in the Google Meet, you have booked your meeting rooms, the meeting room booking comes to an end in 5 minutes, and maybe nobody needs the meeting room after, so you can have a notification directly in the Meet UI that says, "Hey, yeah, your meeting room booking is ending, but do you wanna add 10 or 20 minutes to the meeting room booking directly without again leaving Meet?" So that would be some ideas that we have. And also one feature that we're working on is dedicated to Google Meet hardware. When you have a Google Meet call, you use the main screen to have the people cameras. But when you end the meeting, we are looking to switch our digital signage solution on the screen. So when you don't use anymore, the main screen, you can use this screen for digital signage and broadcast company informations.
I have a use case for you. I want to see how you can solve it. So a lot of folks return to the office and then they take their meetings in their office and do it on Meet, and they don't actually make it to the conference room or to the elevator or to the stairs to actually meet in person. How can we optimize getting people to, when they return to office, to actually return to meetings?
I'm pretty sure that in large companies, two people are in the same meetings without knowing that they are maybe next to each other or
Yes.
on the same floor.
Yes.
So if they use our part of the product that says that helps you booking a desk, we can know where they are located, and just having a notification that says you are in the same building or maybe on the same floor. Again, if we goes back to the introduction that we said, we want to bring people back together. So it could be one way, a very interesting way.